The internet loves to put all of their hype and excitement on one thing that a lot of people would assume is going to just fix all of their problems. And right now, I feel like that's the Galaxy S10 because the Pixel Ultra rumors obviously have all died at the release of the Pixel 3 and 3 XL. Yes, they were all just as terrible as we were fearing. But now we move all of our hopes and dreams off to another theoretical device and say, no, this year, Galaxy S10, this is gonna change the game. This is gonna really shake up the market. But I'm here today to say, is it? So Samsung did not have the greatest year in 2018, mostly because we understood that most of the phones they released were S upgrades, switching from the Galaxy S8 to the Galaxy S9, couple noticeable improvements like stereo speakers, the Plus model gained a dual camera, like an iPhone 7. Wow. Chin got a little bit smaller, but for the most part, not that noticeable of an upgrade, and especially because Samsung's operating system does not change that drastically from year to year because it's primarily based on Android, but their skins and whatnot tinker a little bit year after year. Anyways, what I'm trying to say, 2018, not a huge year for Samsung. So a lot of people are assuming this next year, going into 2019, the Galaxy S10 is going to change everything. This is going to be a big upgrade for several reasons. For one, they're building a fingerprint reader underneath the display, which we've already seen from OnePlus at a much cheaper starting price, but hasn't been done on a Samsung phone yet, a more popular smartphone manufacturer. So it'll be cool to see that brought into the modern era. But also a lot of people are excited to see the removal of that larger chin and forehead that Samsung phones have had for the past few years. While one division of the company is making huge bezels so that the phone can do this, other side of the company is saying, how thin can we get bezels on our flagship smartphones? So the Galaxy S10 is rumored to have a much smaller chin and forehead, not completely gone, but still much smaller, in favor of putting sensors either underneath the display or combining them so that what used to take two sensors can now be done with one. Or a lot of people are suggesting that they will get rid of their iris unlocking technology altogether and just say, you know what, iris unlocking was kind of cool, but you had to hold the phone just right, didn't always work that well, so we're just going to go forward with only using fingerprint readers underneath the display and using face unlock similar to what the OnePlus 6T already does. Now, a lot of people out there are already saying, but Drew, this fingerprint reader is different. It uses a different type of fingerprint unlocking technology that's far superior. At the end of the day, you put your finger there, it unlocks. The way they do it really doesn't make a big difference to the end consumer. It's cool that they do something different, but at the end of the day, I'm still probably gonna think the OnePlus 6T is a better buy. My whole holdup with this is that the bezel-less trend has already kind of started, and we've now seen that the market has somewhat interest in it, but not to the extent that whatever smartphone has the thinnest bezels is the thinnest smartphone. Because we all know that this is no longer just a hardware game. When it comes to iPhones, Galaxies, Pixels, it all comes down to the software and the exclusives that people are going towards. And I really don't think that the Galaxy S10 is going to be some kind of iPhone killer, some kind of killer deal, massive upgrade, just because the chin and forehead got a little bit smaller. See, I think when upgrading from an iPhone 7 Plus to an iPhone 10, that was a very drastic design change. We were going to gestures, we were going to curved corners. There were a lot of things happening at once, but with Samsung, and again, this is not just a problem with Samsung, this is the entire smartphone market, from here on out, trying to rely on massive hardware upgrades that are cool, they've never been done before, whether it be sensors underneath the display, or it be curving displays to go on 3 to 4 sides of the phone, whatever it may be, the changes are getting more minuscule every single year, and I personally think that the Galaxy S10 could be somewhat interesting, but at the end of the day, the camera's probably not going to be that big an enhancement. We're getting a slightly better Snapdragon chip, which is still probably not as good as a year-old iPhone's chip. And now there's even talk that Samsung could end up ditching the headphone jack and just caving and going forward with every other smartphone company, which I'm sure a ton of people will be like, oh, why did they have to give in? But it's okay because they kept it longer than everyone else. So I like Samsung for that. Come on, they defended it all these years. They trashed on other smartphone companies for removing the headphone jack. It's that we can still do it. We can still do it. But if Samsung does it, it's, okay. But everyone else, it's like, you are what's wrong with this industry. I hate you. Yeah, that's typically how these things go. But regardless, the phone still works in a very similar way. Maybe Samsung's One UI will kind of keep the S10 a little bit fresh, keeping their user interface a little bit clean. And honestly, when comparing all of the Android phones right now and comparing them to iPhones, I almost feel like Samsung should be considered their own genre, almost separate from Android. Like, I know they're running Android, and I know they have the Play Store, but Samsung does things so differently from every other Android OEM that I feel like that their own kind of market, like that's a different, separate thing from the rest of Android because of how much skins and how much altering they do to Android, which honestly, I'm fine with. The last few Samsung phones I have somewhat enjoyed. I just felt like there's probably cheaper Androids out there that can give you a similar type experience because a lot of what Samsung has is not necessarily exclusive, like, ooh, S Pen, or ooh, I get to choose which browser and which calculator and which mail app and which photo app I open every single time I tap an app on the home screen. That's my big issue with Samsung phones that I still know is going to be a big flaw on the Galaxy S10. Two companies fighting over one phone. Google's trying to be the center of attention and Samsung's trying to be the center of attention with both of their softwares. I honestly think the main problem in order to get me interested in a Samsung phone again is just pick a side. Either go all in on Samsung and start releasing your own operating systems, or go all in on stock Android. Probably a better option given that's a bit more established already. Just make it a complete pure stock Android experience. Maybe add a couple things on there that Google stupidly will forget to add, just so it doesn't feel like a Frankenstein of a phone. But yeah, honestly, while I'm impressed and while I'm interested to see how they can make bezels smaller ever so slightly year after year after year, I don't think that's going to be enough to wield a huge amount of interest from everyday consumers who aren't really going to notice that kind of thing, and really doesn't have me that excited. Even if the Galaxy S10 has the highest screen to body ratio ever, that really doesn't drastically change the way you use your phone. Let me know what you guys are excited for or looking forward to in the Galaxy S10 down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.